Generative AI has been at a fever pitch since last summer. The industry is undeniably home to the most enthralling technical developments on the scene, with no indication that will change for the remainder of 2023. While image creation has grabbed a lot of attention, headlines have been dominated by OpenAI's ChatGPT since it released. Of course, there's an account with my name on it, and I've kicked the tires a few times. But as with any platform online, I'm reluctant to pour myself into these repositories that exist on servers out of my control. This issue is why in the past I have crowed loudly about offerings like Stable Diffusion and buttoned up pieces of software like Diffusion B as well as Draw Things. These same concerns are why I am now paying attention to recent open source large language models. Obviously, I've enjoyed playing around with the image generators over the last year, but getting access to editorial creation without the need to type all my thoughts into a browser or making a large expenditure for GPUs has been on my mind for a while. Compressing these massive datasets down to sizes that can be distributed across the web and run on much lighter machinery is no small feat. Luckily, there has been a team willing to put in the compute. I recently downloaded an offering that puts small models into a standalone piece of software. Nomics GPT4All runs editorial generative models locally on your machine. They offer the option to feed data back to their servers if you choose to improve the work they are doing, but it's not a requirement. Best of all, the software is available for Mac OS, Linux, and Windows. After the initial download and installation of the Groovy model, I decided that we're going to learn together. Of course, I pointed it at one of my favorite topics, the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. The first prompt was a little rough, but so were the first images I made with Midjourney last summer. One of my favorite aspects of Stable Diffusion is the ability to adjust parameters and iterate. Those same options exist in GPT4All. You can tweak the settings, though it's going to take some experimentation to get more insightful results, but I know it is possible. My first prompt resulted in repetitive loops. Later, I downloaded the Vicuna 13 billion parameter model, and with a more deeply constructed prompt, was able to get it to compose a short essay that doesn't stumble on itself in the same ways. It is generally correct, though perhaps not as refined as I would be capable of writing on the topic. My expectations were low, and I can honestly say it exceeded them. While I'm not impressed by its knowledge, my prompt wasn't exhaustive either. Some people are captivated by telescopes and their ability to peer out into the void. I like microscopes, to point the magnification at a subject within immediate reach. So I turned the software on itself and posed questions for it to answer by first requesting that the engine tell me about the company responsible for producing GPT4All. The following prompts were created using the GPT4All L13B Snoozy model, which is open source and allows outputs to be used for commercial purposes. The factual accuracy of these outputs is unconfirmed. Then I asked the model to tell me about itself, which I think of as a deeper sense of introspection. Like most projects, Nomic operates a Discord server for their burgeoning community, so I joined it. The team is very responsive to engagement, so I reached out to one of the co-founders for a quote to include in this article about where the company came from and what they intend to do next. Large language models are the foundational technology that the next generation of software will be built on. A call to an LLM in the 2020s will be as prevalent as a Linux kernel system call. There are currently 3 organizations that control access to this fundamental technology. The goal of GPT4All is to put a powerful and useful LLM onto every desktop and server in the world, effectively decentralizing and democratizing access. We're releasing an upgraded desktop interface that runs an LLM on any computer this week at gpt4all.io, a Discord bot which anyone can use from their phones, as well as an API that replicates the OpenAI API but you can host locally, and a model that is significantly better than every other open source model in existence. Co-founder of Nomic AI. Plenty has been said about OpenAI's ChatGPT and editorial inference engines in general, and they are a revolution in generative creation. This article has attempted to look not so much at the external waves of change as much as how we are indicated to change from it, like peering into a crystal ball to which we share a neuronal link. Perhaps that is really the only kind, a magic 8-ball revealing which side of the coin flip we have wanted, but with the capacity to distill that down from the social level to the personal, because these models are trained on data produced by our civilizations. While I'm on the meta-language topic, I'm not on board with this term hallucinations. Because it's denotationally poor in this application, I think the models are doing incredibly well in regards to how intelligent they are, considering the quality of the metadata we have trained them on, which is broad. Additionally, I'm not certain we'll ever develop models or engines that will satisfy everyone because one person's bias is another's hallucination, is another one's objective fact. One way to increase the clarity of the output from these engines is to improve the quality of the input prompt. In some cases, to even create an additional layer of contextualization over top of the main model. Prompt design is like programming a model with a set of instructions that gently guide it towards more desirable behavior. Large language models are built on massive data sets, learning new concepts by ingesting more data. They're like predictive text on steroids, parroting what they've learned with a little chaos programmed in to generate novel sequences of text. While not perfect, they're still a useful stochastic parrot. However, without specific instructions or context, LLMs will only provide general broad outputs. It's a case of a broad ask yielding a broad response. For the most desirable outputs from the model, it's useful to provide large one-shot prompts with clear instructions. Including templates or examples in the initial prompt can communicate patterns and nuances for the model to follow. Think of LLMs as a giant puzzle. Give it the right pieces and it can produce an incredible image. But if the pieces are missing or jumbled, the resulting image will be unclear and incomplete. Effective prompt design ensures that the model has all the necessary pieces to produce the best possible output. Alex Payton, designer and technologist. Super prompts can enable dynamic and in-depth connections that allow more deeply integrated outputs over the course of a conversation with a chatbot. Alex was one of the first people to show me how to dig deeper into generative AI and has been refining a collection of super prompts, which you can use for yourself. Additionally, I'm keeping an eye out on a few other developments in this space and may report on them as they emerge. In the meantime, take advantage of what is available today because you can never be sure what will happen on the bleeding edge.